So we know that for the end of One Piece, we have three main antagonists that have been set up. We have Akainu and the Marines, we have Imu and the world government, and we have Blackbeard and the Blackbeard pirates. Today I want to talk about Blackbeard, and in particular I want to talk about his fighting capability, because we've seen a few examples of Blackbeard in a fight, and we've heard a few examples of Blackbeard in a fight, and in my opinion, what I've seen and heard has not been impressive enough. At this point in time, Blackbeard stands atop the throne with people like Kaido, Big Mom, and Shanks, and I see him at the lowest on that totem pole, mainly for this reason. So I took a look at a lot of Blackbeard's fights throughout the series, and two words came to mind: carelessness and overconfidence. And if you remember those words, it's what Whitebeard says to Blackbeard as he's fighting him at Marineford. I think those two words sum up exactly how Blackbeard fights and why his fights look so unimpressive. So let's take a look. First, let's start with Ace. Now what we see here is that Blackbeard has just gotten his fruit, and we don't really know if he's been in a lot of combat with it yet, but basically he's testing it out on Ace when they fight. Now, the thing here is that Blackbeard allows himself to be tagged by so many attacks while describing how, invincible and powerful his fruit is. And while he's doing that, Ace takes the opportunity to continue attacking him. And this is one of those things where, Blackbeard, you just challenged the 2nd Division commander. You know how strong Ace is, and you know what the rule is about Whitebeard's crew. Yet, for some reason, you feel like you have this trump card that automatically makes you better than Ace. Ace gets off a solid 3 or 4 moves that really connect and do damage, and Blackbeard can't do anything about it. I think it's more so that Blackbeard knows he's a tank. He knows that he can take the damage, but that's still a pretty poor way to fight. Now the Yami Yami no Mi has the negative drawback of, increasing damage. He takes more damage than a regular person would because darkness draws in everything. But he can also avoid some of these attacks. We see that he can use the darkness to consume the fire. That's an ability that he has and that he does in this fight with Ace, yet for some reason he doesn't use it unless he's already been attacked. When he uses Kurozu to draw Ace in, he doesn't guard himself at all. He just kind of expects to get a free hit, and Ace takes the opportunity to land a blow himself. This entire fight is just him leaving himself open because I think he's just confident in what his fruit can do. Now let's take a look at Luffy versus Blackbeard and how that competition goes in Impel Down. When they meet, Blackbeard basically spends this time antagonizing Luffy. He tells him about what happened to Ace and what he was planning to do with Luffy if he actually caught him. Basically, he's monologuing to the protagonist who probably hates them the most out of anyone in this series, and yet he doesn't think to have his guard up once. He doesn't think that this person with a high bounty that he was purposely trying to catch catch clout and catch a name with the world government. This person might want to fight me. And again, he gets tagged first. Luffy gets off a jet pistol that sends him flying into a wall, and he's, rolling on the ground, which he does in a lot of his encounters. And this is after Blackbeard has come in after watching Hannibal and Luffy fight. He takes out Hannibal and he steps up to Luffy, so he should have some idea that Luffy is in fighting mode, and that Luffy is going to fight him if he antagonizes him. Again, it's just a matter of him being confident in his own abilities that he doesn't really have to put his guard up. Skip a little bit ahead to where Blackbeard confronts Magellan, the warden of Impel Down and the person trying to contain a breach of pirates, and you have this person walk up to Magellan and again antagonize him. Blackbeard just took out the vice warden, and yet he walks up to the warden with no guard up. He tries to walk past like he's untouchable, and he gets one shot. His entire crew gets one shot. And it's only after Shiryu saves him and that he comes back prepared and ready to fight Magellan, who, by the way, just fought the prison break with Luffy, and that's when he overcomes Magellan. But when he first encounters him, he literally just gets dusted in one move. And that poison isn't something that the Yami Yami no Mi can take care of. And it's like, once they get hit, they assume the position of rolling on the ground again. Like that's what Blackbeard and the Blackbeard pirates do. When they get hit, they kind of just flail around. Now fast forward to Marineford War, and let's see Whitebeard versus Blackbeard. Now I think this is the battle that kind of sets the standard for how I think Blackbeard fights. One, he waits until Whitebeard is pretty much dead to show himself. He basically waits for everyone else to do the work for him before he steps in. And since his goal is to get Whitebeard's fruit, we know he wants to at least fight him and kill him at some point and be there when he dies. Naturally, Blackbeard starts monologuing again, and Whitebeard says I'm having none of it and attacks. Blackbeard, again, has no guard up. He literally just takes a blast to the face, even his crew dodges, and yet somehow Blackbeard himself just eats it. So Whitebeard and Blackbeard begin actually fighting, and Blackbeard thinks he has the advantage with his fruit. You know, he has neutralized the Guruguru no Mi, and now he thinks he's invincible. And this is where we get the quote from Whitebeard where he says that your carelessness and overconfidence will be your weakness. And it's so true, because Blackbeard literally came into this fight being overconfident in what he could do, being ready to accomplish what he wanted to accomplish and expecting things to not go wrong. So when Whitebeard grabs him up and gets ready to kill him, he starts begging for his life. He starts crying. He starts, saying, I'm your son, don't kill me. And it's like, where was the Blackbeard like 3 seconds ago that was just talking trash? Where's that energy at? Where's that man at? As soon as he started losing that fight, he changed it up real quick. And this is another time in which having his fruit does not help him. Sure, he's able to negate the Guruguru no Mi, but Whitebeard is the strongest man in the world. And if you come up to him and you're not prepared, you're going to lose that fight, even if he's sick, old, and dying. So Blackbeard gets quaked and he calls upon his whole crew to help him out because he can't do this on his own. If he doesn't call for help, he's getting killed. And even with help, he doesn't manage to put down Whitebeard. Whitebeard just dies of all of his calculated wounds together. And so I also think that this happens to be the most pathetic display of Blackbeard. Because when you think about a Yonko, when you think about a D, when you think about an antagonist, you don't want to look back on these moments and remember, oh, he cried and begged for his life in a fight that he started himself. And one more thing I want to point out in Marineford War is that when he's fighting Sengoku, it's just another moment in which he gets caught off guard. He's, again, doing his evil monologue, and Sengoku comes up and hits him with a shockwave, and hits the entire crew with the shockwave. And we know that he can block it. We know that he can use the Guruguru no Mi to cancel it, yet at this point in time he just takes it because, of course, he's Blackbeard, he doesn't have his guard up. And this makes me think, does Blackbeard have Haki? I mean, I don't think we've really seen him use any kind of Haki, or at least even have a hint at having Haki. And he most certainly doesn't have any observation Haki. He gets hit by every attack aimed at him no matter where it's coming from. Technically speaking, he doesn't really need armament because his fruit kind of does that for him. His fruit has armament Haki built in, so to speak. Now, I don't want to say it has like the advanced levels like Ryo, or even the advanced hardening, but it does cancel out devil fruits. And while I think he does have the ambitions to be a king and a conqueror, what we see in Marineford, what we see of the Will of D being tarnished by him frowning at his apparent death, I think that kind of nullifies my idea of him having conqueror's Haki. And I know that overall, Blackbeard's fruit is one about trade-off. Like, he gets this awesome power, and yet, he takes all this damage. He can't turn into the darkness form, he has to remain in his human form. But that doesn't mean he can't be on guard. That doesn't mean he can't block attacks or dodge attacks. He just chooses not to. He doesn't have the wherewithal to actually do anything about attacks coming at him. Now, at the end of the day, we have to admit that no matter what happens, Blackbeard usually comes out on top. Yes, he has poor showings in this fight, but he gets what he wants. He ends up beating Ace. Luffy isn't a match for him. He takes down Magellan in the end, and he gets Whitebeard's fruit. So while I may not agree or like the methods, they're definitely working for him. And I think that's one of the staples of Blackbeard's character is that, as many people have noted, he's a pirate. He takes what he wants when he wants it. And I respect that. And I respect the fact that he's been able to do so much and have it all work out for him the way he wants. And to be fair, Blackbeard has some good betrayal. He took out the entirety of the Whitebeard pirates during the Payback War. He was able to injure Shanks pre-Devil Fruit while Shanks was on his guard, so to speak. So he's not a completely useless fighter. He still has combat ability. It's just that it doesn't seem like he's working on it. It seems like the more power he gets as far as like Devil Fruits go, the less he seems to actually care about combat. The more confident he is just walking into any combat and, saying Kurozu and hoping that works. Now, seeing as the other people are training that will end up fighting him, I think this is going to be his downfall. I think his lack of real combat is going to be what puts him under the bus. he may end up overpowered and carrying 3 devil fruits, but if he doesn't really put time into, say, Haki or just general combat, I think people like Luffy, people like Kid, like the Supernovas, the generation that's coming up, they will take him down. But yes, those are my thoughts on Blackbeard and his combat ability. Do I think he's a good fighter? No. Do I think he's overpowered and has great abilities? Yes. Is that enough to get him through the series? I don't think so. But please let me know how you guys feel. Please drop a comment, like, subscribe. I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.